there as well. While I was not a member of the Congress when the 115th Congress passed the long-term FAA reauthorization, I have followed its implementation. Mr. Elwell, Mr. Sabat, I understand that some of the over 400 mandates in the FAA bill had short implementation timelines. Having said that, I'm really concerned about the time it's taken to advance several safety provisions that I personally think ought to be advanced more quickly. I would just leave it at that. A question for Mr. Elwell. Before I get into the 2018 FAA bill, I do want to ask you directly, like I did earlier this year, of safety workers testifying before this committee. In 2012 and 2016, twice now, Congress directed the FAA to address safety gaps between domestic aircraft repair stations and foreign repair stations. The FAA is now more than 7 years overdue to create an enforceable rule to raise the standards for foreign repair stations regarding security, background checks, and alcohol testing. When will the FAA implement this rule?
Mr. Garcia, thank you for that question. Obviously, as testified before this committee on several occasions, it's a very complex rule, requires the navigation. The law requires that we navigate the home country laws with regard to alcohol testing. But obviously, also, the beginning of this rule making and the law that was first passed predates me, and so if you would permit, I'd ask our expert.
Briefly, please.
Yes.
Good afternoon, sir. So we did actually publish an ANPRM, an advance notice for proposed rulemaking, in 2014. We were seeking comments on how we would implement the provision because of the complexity of working with the various international partners. We were able to get some information on cost, benefit analysis, as well as the systems that are in place in the foreign locations where we have repair stations that are certified. I think we've drafted an NPRM. It is actually in coordination. It's not easy to draft a rule of general applicability with the various international frameworks that are existing related to drug and alcohol testing. So I would say that it is a rule that we have drafted. We hope to move it through the executive coordination so that we can publish that notice for comment, so that we can gather some more information so that we can further the implementation. However, in the meantime, I think we've made improvements to address the risk. Under Part 145 certification, which is for the repair station, we actually established an MOU with TSA and the FAA in the background checks so that we can address the security aspects of those people. We may not be able to look at drug and alcohol, but we can look at the security application based on their background checks. And also, as a 121 operator, which is an air carrier operator, they has the responsibility to have a safety management system. Any part of their system, which could include repair station certifications that they would be utilizing through contractual benefits, they're responsible to address any risks that they would see there and assure that they mitigate that risk.
Okay, so thank you. I think that will suffice for now because my time will run out if I let you continue. On the topic of safety, in the 2018 bill, the questions of minimum seat size, distance between rows, safety and evacuation times has been addressed by Chairman DeFazio. I thank him for that. The third question, Mr. Elwell, after leaving them out in the 2012 bill, the 2018 FAA bill instructed the Department of Transportation to implement a 10-hour rest period for flight attendants. Mind you, these flight attendants can often work up to 16-hour shifts, and the rest period does not take into account time for deplaning, to get to and from hotel, to actually rest. The DOT missed the statutory deadline to implement the rule by November 4th of 2018 and did not even begin a formal process until February of this year. I understand you may be starting action now. What took so long, and why did DOT feel the need to do a full comment period when the law this body passed gave no discretion to augment how the regulations should be written?
Well, sir, thank you for that question. As we talked about this earlier, the law was clear. However, it did not absolve us of the responsibility to do notice and comment. And for a rule that does not impose directly on the operators, FAA has no choice but to go through rulemaking and notice and comment and benefit cost analysis, which is the biggest reason why it's taken so long. But as we mentioned earlier, sir, the fatigue risk management plans are being submitted at a good clip by the 48 different carriers that have flight attendants, and that is meets the need while we go through this rulemaking period.
Thank you. I yield back, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Before we go to Mr. Massey and Mr. Fitzpatrick, those are the only two members who have left, barring any other members who come. I do plan to take a 5-minute break to reset the panelists. However, if folks who are on the second panel want to take an opportunity now for a comfort break, if you feel the timing is about right, so if folks want to think about that. But we will be taking a 5-minute break between panelists. With that, I'll turn to, I think, Mr. Massey's next.
So I'm the only thing standing in between them and their break? Maybe.
You can handle the pressure, Tom.
All right, maybe I'll get quick answers. Mr. Elwell, I'm glad to see a pilot in your position, a commercial pilot. I'm sure that's helpful to the taxpayers and to all of us to have your view of things. I want to focus on the data communications portion of NextGen and the implementation of that, specifically the controller pilot data link. Can you talk about the benefits of that and the projected benefits and what some of the benefits are we've seen?
Sir, thanks for that question. CPDLC, Computer Pilot Data Link, actually was, the test base for that was Miami and the 757 when I was flying the 757 for American. So proud to be—
I thought you might have some relevant experience.
So proud to be one of the first pilots to tear off that strip of paper from the controller saying to climb to 16,000. And so, but that, I don't mean to be light about that. The Datacom, as it's called now, has huge benefits, especially we implemented it at over 50 towers on the surface, because instead of sitting there for 20 minutes waiting to get a word in edgewise at a very, very busy airport, you just get a display of what your clearance is, you push a button, you accept it. It vastly eliminates readback and transcription errors, and of course, an efficiency in time, not having the chatter on the radio, cleans up the radio, situational awareness is enhanced. I could go on for a long time about the value of it. And I know where you're going. If you want me to help on CVG?
Yes, that's exactly where I'm going, because also fuel savings and safety are benefits of that system. But what I'm told by people who like the system, and they say it's a bright spot actually in the NextGen implementation, that there are some less bright spots and some delays here and there, but this is one example where it's been helpful. Yep. And I'm told at the CVG airport, and then I'll open up